大家请就坐吧。
On va faire une photo avant de commencer. Allez. I don't know. You should know. Yeah. Coming from where it's coming. Venture capital and consulting. Yeah. Going to the plant and going to strategy and now more than 20 clients all over China. So and the journalists. Light from the CEO.
Dear members, dear friends, good afternoon. I am truly delighted to welcome you today in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and online for a new edition of our flagship HeForShe dialogue. This dialogue has become an important milestone for our chamber, a space where we move beyond intention and speak about concrete action. Thank you all for being with us. It is now my great pleasure to invite our president, Mr. Christophe Loras, to deliver his opening address.
Thank you, Caroline. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, dear friends, I am truly honored to open this 2026 edition of our HeForShe Dialogue, an event organized simultaneously in Beijing, Shanghai, and South China. It is also online, and this, of course, is at the occasion of the International Day for the Women's Rights. The French Chamber of Commerce in China, HeForShe, is not just another event in our calendar. It is a key marker. It is a flagship event that has gathered a huge following over the last few years. In 2026, gender equality is no longer a matter of awareness. We all know that. It is a matter of governance. It is a matter of responsibility. And we also know it. The question is no longer that we should act. We know that. The question is what level we are willing to let it truly transform our decision in our companies and in our institutions. In an environment marked by geopolitical uncertainties and technological acceleration, strong organizations are those that integrate multiple perspectives into their choices. Diversity is not an added value. It is a condition of sound decision-making. At the French Chamber, we strongly believe that competitiveness and long-term strength depend on our ability to broaden access to leadership and to embrace diverse perspectives. And so today, we bring together leaders from both the economic and the institutional spheres for this dialogue because this dialogue is essential. It is essential because transformation cannot be sector-based. It has to be a collective endeavor, a collective effort. Last year, several thousand participants followed this dialogue in our chapters, in public, but also online. We expect many more. We will, I think, be able to tell you later how many are connected online, but we expect tens of thousands to be online. And this success demonstrates that this is not only a discussion. What we're having today is a long-term commitment. It's a commitment to making steady, concrete progress. So I would like to thank warmly everyone who has been preparing and participating to this event, our speakers, of course, our elected board member, all the members of the French Chamber of Commerce, and of course, the teams of the French Chamber of Commerce across the 3 chapters that have been preparing this event. I'd like to thank them all for their commitment and for their dedication. I know that our discussions today will be demanding, concrete, and action-oriented, and I look forward to them. So once again, welcome, and let's begin this HeForShe event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christophe, for your powerful and committed opening address. Your words set an inspiring tone for our dialogue and reaffirm the importance of collective responsibility in advancing gender equality. I am now honored to welcome Mrs. Liu Chun, President of the China Chamber of Commerce for Import and Export, a key actor in France-China economic cooperation. Mrs. Liu, congratulations on receiving the National Hate Red Banner, a prestigious distinction recognizing your contribution to gender equality. The floor is yours.
Distinguished Ambassador, dear Christopher Loris and Caroline, as well as all the friends online and offline. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my great pleasure to be here, and also I'm honored to join this dialogue and also to meet our friends, both old and new, in face-to-face at the same time. I would like to thank the Chamber for organizing this very meaningful event. Therefore, on behalf of the CCCME, I'd like to congratulate on this dialogue. I joined this dialogue last year, and I felt deeply in this meaning of this event because according to the UN 2014 HeForShe launched by UN pages 2014, HeForShe is a global call to action for everyone to champion the gender equality. This initiative is not only about safeguarding women's rights, but also about pursuing shared progress for all humanity. I know the dialogue last year, according to what we have seen in interaction, it has 400 on-site participants and 265,000 online viewers. That's a testament to its profound influence and the growing commitment. I was deeply impressed by this dialogue. Especially, I was touched that this dialogue has contributed greatly to the influence of this topic. It's not about a topic for women. We're also seeing many gentlemen. They have made many insightful remarks about gender equality. According to the Chinese saying, that women is half the sky. And actually, it's not only the women that hold up half the sky. It requires all gender groups to break through all the stereotypes. We need to join hands together. And also, We have been working together with CCI plus China. We have been working together on the forefront of the cooperation between China and France, especially in new energy and advanced manufacturing. We have worked together with especially the female workers in those countries' communities of relevant fields. With our professionalism and dedication, we have made great contributions. So for CCCME, we have been deeply engaged in many of the activities in the events that has been held up by the CCC France China. We have organized many of the Chinese manufacturers to invest in the leaders in French manufacturing communities. With our communications, we are going to help the Chinese companies know more about the business environment and the investment atmosphere in France. In this process, both parties are dedicating to strengthen the power of women and to enlighten our cooperation in this field. At CCCME, we prioritize gender equality and strive to create inclusive professional environment for female employees. And in our chamber, nearly 70% of our staff are women. It's fair to say that they have played important role in their field of professionalism. And as the previous remark mentioned, our efforts has earned honors such as the Ministry of Commerce at March 8th Red Banner Collective, and also National March 8th Red Banner for the Central and State of these organizations. And I think behind all these achievements, it has truly demonstrated that the value of HeForShe. Dear friends, the core of HeForShe is not one party helping the other. What's more important is that we should become partners together on the road of gender equality. No one is a passersby. We need to join hands and work together. And I believe with the continuing role of the relation between both parties, and I would like to wish all the women would play an even more important role in the development of both countries, and we're going to dedicate our wisdom and power to this growing journey. And lastly, in closing, may all the women here, both online and also offline, I wish you ride the wings of the horse. You need to be bold, fearless, and radiant. And lastly, I wish this dialogue every success. Thank you.
Thank you, President Liu, for your insightful and captivating remarks. Our distinguished speaker will now share their visions, experiences, and the concrete action they are taking on these important issues. Let's also warmly thank Christine in Beijing, Fabien in Guangzhou, and Christophe in Shanghai for leading this dialogue across our 3 locations. Without further ado, let us begin our panel discussions.
Good afternoon. In Guangzhou, we are delighted to host Ms. Christy Soon, CMO of Yatsen Group and General Manager of Galenic. And we have also Stephen Chang, Chief Information Officer of King Gold Group.
Good afternoon. In Beijing, we are delighted to receive Myriam Pavageau, Ministre Conseiller à l'Ambassade de France, Minister Counselor at the French Embassy, Jean-Marc Reynaud, CEO of Thales China and Mongolia, and Valérie Salviac-Distra, Vice President of EDF China. Valérie, unfortunately, could not be with us tonight, but she kindly recorded her answers to share them with us.
All right, and here in Beijing, we have Tsai Jinqing. Jinqing, you are the president for Caring for Greater China. Esra Bora, you're the general manager of CMA CGM in China. Yvonne Yang, you are the Asia vice president, HR and communication for Saint-Gobain. Céline Pozobon, you are the global ITSM product manager for L'Oréal. And also I have to mention that you are an elected counselor for the French citizen abroad that you represent here in Shanghai. And Ara Guigou Caceres, you are a clinical nutritionist. Welcome, ladies. So as you can see, between the three chapters in Guangzhou, in Beijing, and here, we have a very rich and diverse panel tonight. And I'm pleased to start with the first question. That's for you, Jinqing. As the president for Greater China for Caring, what are the concrete measures that have had the most tangible impact in your organization? And also, which are the initiatives that, in fact, have proven to be less effective than expected?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for inviting me. This is my second time to participate in the International Women's Day HeForShe dialogue, and I thoroughly enjoyed it last time, so I decided to come back. And so Caring, of course, is a French company. We are one of the leading luxury group headquartered in Paris, with many brands like Gucci, Saint Laurent, Bottega, and Boucheron, and so on and so forth. And for us, gender equality is not only a initiative; it's really part of our culture and practice. Because for us, first of all, our customers are majority of women, and our employees, 70% are women. So to protect and support and promote and accelerate women empowerment is really part of our essential success and performance lever. But HeForShe, this topic, I think it reminded us that gender equality is everybody's responsibility. And at Caring, we're not only just doing one pillar, but with a series of different measures and policies and methodologies to really cultivate this practice and action and culture to everyday life. For instance, in terms of governance, we established our Inclusion and Diversity Committee under the leadership of our CEO. And among all the brands, we have R&D committee under their management and led by a management committee member. So it's not just an HR topic. It's really quite essential for us to really cultivate these great initiative and practice. And it's also very transparent because we do measure all our policy and action and progress. So for instance, in terms of population of women and men, so we track all these very daily basis. And in terms of managers, more than 58% are women. So we know these by heart. And among our committee for executives, also more than 50% are women. And the board as well. We have, I think, one of the highest female representation of board members, 55% in the French listed companies. So, so this is the first thing. It has to be led through top leadership. And also, we do, as I said, a lot of policies to make sure it really has support our day-to-day work and life. For instance, at Caring, we have the baby leave policy, which gives a 14-week full paid leave for parents, including men. So this is really not just a time off for men, but it's really, a change of culture and mentality. And it challenged the, I guess, stereotype that caregiving is done by women. So because of this, I think it, in a way, really helps women to adjust their role and also to overcome this kind of unwritten sort of assumption about young families. So I think in a way this really transformed a lot of the confidence and the ambition of women to balance their career and really try to grow in terms of career and family as well. So in terms of pay equity, I mean, I think that's a big topic. And it's not, we're just not saying, we pay equity is important, but we actually invite a third party endorsement so that it's really transparent and keep us honest and making progress. So for instance, we are part of the Universal Fair Pay sort of an innovation lab. And then they give us certificate every year and show us the gap of the gender pay. For instance, I remember 2024, we still have some gap, 1.5%-ish of the pay inequality between men and women. So this is giving us really honest feedback that we need to continue to improve these practices. So I guess, that's the good practices. And in terms of what doesn't work, I think it's more than, I think part of a initiative or campaign is good, right? So because it raises awareness and raises sort of communication and dialogue. But just remain at the words level, communication level is not enough. I think it's, as I said, we need to really transform it into our governance, into our policy, into our system and measurement, so that it's holistic and what gets measured gets done. So that's how we at Caring have really practiced.
Thank you.
Thank you, Qingqing. Caring's commitment to shared responsibility, transparency, and accountability shows how systematic change is built through consistent action, not just good intentions. Jean-Marc, as the CEO of Thales for China and Mongolia, I would like to hear your thoughts on this. What concrete measures have had the most tangible impact in your organizations, and which initiatives have proven to be less effective than expected?
Yeah, maybe as an introduction, so Thales is a technology company, so with a really engineering-driven culture. And here in China, we've been able to achieve 46% of female employees. And this year, we've reached the parity at the executive committee. So the question is about the journey, what enabled us to achieve such results. So the first thing I want to share, we have a systematic plan. So it's tied to all the phases of a career. So recruitment, professional development, compensation policy, leader retention and promotion policy. Beyond each of these themes, there is an action, there is a measure, a KPI, and we adapt the KPI to how the situation evolves every year. Typically, the fact that it's part of the variable compensation helps to generate healthy debate in the whole group. So it's quite methodical. There is a plan, and this is something that is really followed on a regular basis. In the remarkable initiatives, so the one that delivered some, I believe, some real concrete value, the first one, we have an internal mentoring program, which means each senior executive is paired with a young female leader, and we help to navigate through any phase of the career. That's a program worth mentioning. We have sharing groups, international women's development program, typically where women can share the progress they are making, the challenges they are facing, and propose something and adjust. Now I've asked around me typically why this works in China, and I want to share two things. The first one is a culture of trust. So to create a safe environment where typically women can put themselves forward. We know that in an engineering-driven culture, it's not so obvious. So that's part of the management duty to create this safe environment. The second is, I believe we had a really genuine approach at group level. So the direction has been really given from the top, and it kind of resonated with the Chinese culture, where people said, okay, this is sincere, we can express ourselves and we can own it at the end. On where I believe we still have some challenges or have some bias, one typically, and I've shared it with my team, which is in majority or at parity female driven, when it comes to making decision, to making promotion, the first reaction, oh, there is a business challenge, oh, we want the right candidate, is to put forward male candidate. So the real topic for us is to move back from the challenge is this one to what are the attributes of the candidate we search for this position. Here we still definitely have some progress to make. Focus on the outcome and not on the challenge for which behavior creates a bias. So that's all I want to share with you. Where we stand today, we've made some progress. I can tell you we are defining for the next phase what are the next challenges. Typically, mid-career management is one of them. So one of the discussions we're having is how to adapt the environment in mid-career so that we generate the next generation of leaders.
Thank you, Jean-Marc. Thales achievement, we can see about executive parity in China, as you say, culture of trust backed by leadership commitment and cultural alignment can drive real progress. Now I'm turning to Esra. Esra, you are General Manager of CMA CGM. What concrete measures have you had the most tangible impact in your organization?
Thank you very much for the question, and thank you very much for Chamber of Commerce for inviting for this very meaningful event. This is my first time, but I'm looking forward to the next ones, and I'm impressed actually the level of participation and connection between the different cities. It's always inspirational. So I'm the General Manager of CMA CGM in China. For participants, CMA CGM is a family-owned company. We have around 160,000 employees across the world. We operate more than 80 countries within the transport, logistics, and air freight and media divisions. So when you come to a group at this magnitude, at this site, then diversity, inclusion, and women agenda is not an option anymore. It becomes a matter of growth. You cannot really grow if every single talent has the same level of opportunity and has the same focus. So we have a few concrete, because you're asking for the concrete examples that I want to mention globally, what we apply in CMA CGM. And I think one that I personally participated, that started in 2018, was the Women Empowerment Program. That started as VR shipping and then shifted into women empowerment, where there is a massive focus on mentoring, coaching, and career development and career coaching with women. I think this was very successful. This is across the world. And then there's another one that I believe it's really transformative in shipping industry in particular. SheSails. SheSails is basically aiming to increase more sailors and more women in sea. Right now, if you look into the sailors around the world on the ships, it's a very male-dominated area. And the SheSails really aims to increase the number of women on the ships, also to improve the conditions for women on the ships, to really make it a lot more welcoming and to encourage women to take participation. Our ambition, I think right now we are around 400 people. Already, that's an increase from 200 last year up to 400 women sailors. And the ambition is to reach to 1,000 in 2030. So this is one of the transformative programs that we do globally. We also have some effects on China side. And then I also want to mention Tangram. For those who know, Tangram is our learning and innovation center. It's based in Marseille, where our headquarters are based. And we are very proud of Tangram because it brings a lot of people from all around the world. And just for training and innovation, it's really dedicated for that. This year, we had 4,000 people that went to Tangram from all over the world. 89 people, 89 of our colleagues from China went. And we have a very clear policy. It has to be 50-50, 50% women, 50% men. And it really promotes and encourages the equality in the training. And we also have some trainings called Recruitment Without Discrimination, that when you go to program, that you take this training. So ultimately, it promotes to give the right opportunities and the right tools to women leaders to be promoted even more. So these are, I would say, a few concrete examples that we have globally. I hope it answers the question. Thank you.
Esra, thank you. Thank you for your work and your efforts in making maritime careers more accessible to women, and this is truly transformative. What about you, Stephen? As a CIO of the Kingle Group, what structural or systemic mechanisms still persist at the top of organization despite the individual goodwill of leaders?
Thank you so much, Fabian. Well, I don't have so many cards on this subject here, as you know very well, but it's for a good cause. So thank you for having me here. So I think, to give you a short answer, it's far too many. Because historically speaking, if we're looking at the establishment of companies or institutions, it is almost fair to say probably are established predominantly by men. And when you have this homogeneous leadership, inevitably and also regrettably say, you would have embedded institutional biases in pretty much every aspect. You're looking at the processes, the values, the norms. And I think if you look at from an employee perspective, the entire career journey, almost from beginning to the end, you see the area of improvement from hiring to performance review, promotion, and also pay disparity, like Shanghai Jingjing said. And not to mention, last time I checked, I think only about 10% of the Fortune 500 CEOs are women. It's very serious.
Thank you, Stephen. Your point about unintended biases in technology, particularly in AI-driven recruitment, is a critical issue that many industries are grappling with. Yvonne, as Asia HR and communication for Saint-Gobain, what structural or systemic mechanisms still persist at the top of organizations despite the individual goodwill of leaders?
Thank you for the question. Well, Saint-Gobain is a multinational, let's say, traditional manufacturing group. We have around 170 people, 1,000 people around the world, and 12,000 people covering 10 countries in Asia. So last year we have Saint-Gobain celebrated 360-year anniversary last year. So we have very long history, but we say that we are 360 young. So even we have experienced 360 years, we are still young and very dynamic and innovative. So coming to the question about the systematic mechanism. So maybe please allow me to elaborate a little bit in Chinese. I know that most of the friends here in French, you speak also very good Chinese. So I'm happy also to share the opinion with ODM here. Sorry. 所以我们说到
Well, speaking of systematic mechanism, we tend to think about social norms and how it influences our mentality and our way of working. For women's growth and career development, despite all the support we have done, There are impacts identified in our daily operations of the companies because we are a traditional manufacturing company. I would like to elaborate from the following aspects. I'd like to take this opportunity and to learn from you about the best practice you have taken. I heard from Karen. I know that your female ratio is 70%, and for us, that means there's still a long way to go for us, a big room for improvement, because in China, that rate is about 40% for us in China, and globally, only 30%. That means for female managers, roles is still a big room of improvement. So thinking about this medical mechanism and the future directions of improvement, the first thing on top of my mind is about leadership. How to define leadership, as it derives from tradition, which is dominated by the man. This norm of leadership is still impacting our definition of leadership these days. And what we need to do is to transform the definition of leadership in a more fair and just, consistent way, without any impacts from the gender traditional mentalities. Therefore, in building the models of leadership, we have given it a very thorough consideration. And secondly, from a traditional point of view, women in key positions and their exposure to these new positions are quite limited because in those traditional fields, we have less female leaders and their exposure to key positions and their opportunities to hire senior management is quite limited. That's why we need to build a system to allow them with more opportunities of growth and make them seen in these environments. At Saint-Gobain, we have established many of these Her Voice events and also forums and her leadership so as to support them. And at the senior leadership, we have had one-on-one coaches. In this way, we are going to make them seen and have them joining these strategic and also rotation programs and to make them seen as key exposures. And thirdly, what I want to say is the impact from unconscious bias, because when it comes to recruitment, training, and evaluations and promotions, there has been a system for evaluation. But within this evaluation system, there tends to be unconscious biases. People are not intentionally to influence their decisions in a conscious way, but because of this unconscious bias, there tends to be unfair decisions. Under such circumstances, we have organized these unconscious bias training programs targeted towards our human resource managers so that we're going to see these problems fair and square and to see our shortcomings. In that way, we're going to truly adapt our way of thinking and adjust our regional aspirations. And also their caregiving responsibilities and also inflexible systems. Because for female, they would take more caregiving norms, therefore they need to spend more time with their children and they need to struggle to balance between their work and life. In an organization, if we see this as a norm, that the staff are following a linear progress in their career is not very female-friendly. Therefore, at Saint-Gobain, we are promoting this flexible system and also working from home as well as the job rotation programs so as to give more care to female workers. In that case, they would be allowed with opportunities and flexibility to arrange their time and to give more care to their family without affecting their jobs. Lastly, what I want to touch upon is the structure of human female representativeness is quite limited. For historical reasons, we have seen senior female managers is quite limited to begin with. Therefore, strategically, and on the level of decision making, there would be less voice heard from female workers. At Saint-Gobain, we have established systems. In that case, we're going to enhance this ratio of females, especially on their senior positions. We have some compulsory KPIs, especially with the senior management levels. It's required to have a special, specific ratio for female high senior decision makers. In that case, we're going to hear the voice from the side. And to conclude, goodwill helps individuals, but the system would shape a good outcome. We hope that with a good structural change, we can create long-lasting progress with the promotion and career development of female workers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The efforts of Saint-Gobain to foster equality in industrial setting prove that effort can be made in every sector. So that is very inspiring. I will now switch in French. I'm going to ask questions to our Minister Counselor from the French Embassy in Beijing. For those of you who don't know, March is also the month of francophonie. And for this, I will switch to my French language now. Et je me tourne vers vous, Myriam. Bonjour Myriam. Dans une organisation diplomatique et économique, à quel moment l'égalité femmes-hommes devient-elle un critère de décision stratégique?
When it comes to diplomatic and economic organizations, when gender equality had become a principle and also becoming a key considering evaluation, more than diplomatic announcements. Thank you for inviting me. I won't review far back into history about the key person when it comes to histories. We're going to think about Sir Kissinger, but we hardly think about the female key characters in diplomacy. For example, the first female diplomat from France, whose name is Susan, and he had entered in 1930 as the first female diplomat from France, because before 1929, the diplomatic institution has been a ban for the male diplomats to take these examinations to join these groups. So for her, she has struggled to join this club as a success, because we have seen many diplomats have been thinking about how would solve her problems when she's working as a diplomat overseas.
So until 1940, French diplomats going abroad were very rare. And now, a decade has passed, so we could say that the career trajectory of female diplomats is actually quite short. And some female married to male diplomats, so they were unable to become professional diplomats because it's hard for one female to be both a professional diplomat and also a wife of an ambassador. Therefore, women are faced with lots of challenges that stop them from becoming professional diplomats for a very long time. At that time, this woman was told by her teacher and friend, you successfully passed the examination of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. However, it will take you a long time to be accepted as a female diplomat. So still there's a huge gap between the examination and the final acceptance. And then in 1972, she became the first French female ambassador to Panama. And then in 2011, we truly see a female diplomat who is also stationed as one of the 5 permanent members in the UN Security Council and later became an ambassador to China. In around 2000, France began to have lots of discussions about gender equality in either enterprise level or government leadership level. We started some discussion and work around gender equality. We've set some quotas, we've defined some quotas in executive leadership. For example, what percentage of female leaders must be there at the executive and government leadership levels. And then around 2012, France had another campaign for female diplomacy. All these initiatives have become important components of French diplomatic actions. And Simona Veil is also a very important French figure, a French feminist and also politician. We are hosting many events to increase the reputation of the female scientists and leaders. And March marks the French language month. The theme is to celebrate women's rights. So I've just dated back to our historical development. So let me show you some figures.
Donc on a vraiment quelque chose qui est en marche, si bien qu'aujourd'hui la proportion d'ambassadrices
around 2020, female leaders account for 34%, while in recent years, the figures gradually jumped to 36%.
Et là, on est à 45% de femmes sur les postes de directeurs généraux et directeurs.
We do not only see some positions abroad, but also some positions in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Therefore, women make up 45% of the management workforce. In fact, we still have a lot of areas to improve. For example, there were no female diplomatic advisor to the President of the Republic. But we do see more and more female diplomats in different countries abroad. Therefore, starting with our first female diplomat story to the advancement and achievement we have made, we can recap our experience and lessons learned. The French society is paying more and more attention to women's representation. So with more female voices and representatives, we can make stable progress. Just because of the social voice that the female diplomat has passed the examination, there were other French organizations which advocate if there were no women representatives in international professional events, they call everyone to boycott such kind of meetings. And also, we need to protect women's rights at a legal level, for example, to punish domestic violence at a legal level. And we need to have a regular review on our progress. If we're still making progress with the current speed, it will take us another 300 years to realize the true gender equality. We have made some progresses. For example, we have more and more female ministers, leaders, etc. Also, in labor law, we need to establish a legal guarantee to women's rights, their balance between work and life, especially for diplomats who need to stay there decades in overseas countries. And very important experience, female needs to be more ambitious and willing. If you want to embark your professional career, you need to have the intention and ambition to become a leader, regardless of the gender. Especially when you become the leader, you need to think about your past experience. For example, you have been supported and promoted by your seniors and peers. Therefore, you also need to hold up the umbrella for others and also pass on this support from generation to generation.
Puisque si on prend par exemple une étude du PNUD en 2023, près de la moitié de
Although
la
in
population
different
mondiale
regions and
pense que les hommes font de
areas, we
meilleurs
have
dirigeants
made
que les femmes,
different progresses.
43% pensent que les hommes font de meilleurs chefs d'entreprise que les femmes. Donc, je vous laisse à ces réflexions, mais encore une fois, je
We
pense que
still
c'est
need
important aussi, alors que
to do more work, to take more measures.
voilà, les résultats sont pas forcément
According to the statistics from international organizations, 43% still believe that male excel in leadership than female. So this is also thought-provoking.
Merci Myriam. Ces développements montrent à quel point même les institutions les plus établies peuvent amorcer un changement dès lors qu'elles viennent de la direction.
And
Now I'm turning to
mature organizations, the leadership need to make commitment to start
We often
the
hear
transformation.
the word diversity, but in your day-to-day work, how has paying attention to diversity help you better connect with the patient and identify a treatment that truly fits their real life?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me today. So, in order to better answer this question, I would like first to clarify one key point about nutrition. So, nutrition is not only about food. Nutrition is a personal behavior that is shaped by many different factors. So for sure, gender is one of those factors, but then there are other factors like social, economic, and cultural factors, okay? What is interesting is that these social, economic, and cultural factors, they are all also influenced by gender. So in clinical practice, what I do is that I first evaluate the different factors, in fact, that influence my client's way of eating. And then that will help me, in fact, to set up practical actions for them. So I will give you now 3 examples of things that are influenced by gender, factors that are influenced by gender. So the first one is gender norms, okay? So still women, they are really exposed to what we call diet culture, okay? So from a very young age, for example, women, they are told to eat less, to eat smaller portions, to be careful, in fact, to their shape. They are also to eat very specific foods. So, for example, what we label as clean or healthy foods. Or they navigate around members of the family that are chronically dieting, okay? So all of these things, they will shape the relationship that women will have with food. So there is one thing that is important to know is that we are all born with the capacity to regulate our appetite. But when we start, in fact, to create external rules around food, like we should eat this amount of food, or why things that we need to eat, not eat, for example, that these rules, in fact, will interfere with our natural capacity to regulate. And that may lead to what we call distorted eating patterns. So this is way in which gender can affect nutrition. Another one is all social and economical factors. So, for example, salary. We have talked about that today. Workload or caregiver responsibilities. So that also will affect how we evolve around food, because that will affect, for example, the time that we have to prepare food or the access that we have to certain foods. And we know that these socio-economical factors, there are still a lot of disparities. So that will affect also women's nutrition. The third example is our exposure to social media. Okay, so women are heavily targeted by message in social media around nutrition and beauty standards. And in fact, most of these messages convey misleading information. So in clinical practice, I have a lot of women that come that are exhausted of trying to follow misleading recommendations, and also very confused about all the contradictory information is around the social media. So with these three examples, you can see that yes, gender in fact will impact nutrition, and there is a factor that we need in fact to address in clinical practice.
Thank you, Ara. You're putting a very special light on this subject, and your passion-centered approach is actually a powerful reminder that diversity encompasses far more than just gender. It is also about recognizing the full spectrum of human experience. Very interesting. Thank you. I'm turning now to Guangzhou, to you, Christy Sun. Christy, you are the CMO of Yatsen Group and the GM of Galenic. And my question is this: have you ever faced a strategic decision where diversity of perspectives clearly changed the final outcome, and what did it change? What did it concretely alter?
Thank you, Christopher, for the question. Speaking of strategic decisions, I think the biggest risk for making a wrong one is actually coming from just making decision from only one single lens. I think diversity helps us to really make right decisions. So in our company, Yatsen Group, we are a multi-brand beauty company and listed on New York Stock Exchange. We are the first Chinese beauty company that launched the ESG report with MSCI A rating, which is also the highest tier in the beauty industry. So DEI, I would say diversity, equity, and inclusivity is a very important topic for our company. So we manage different type of brands, for example, the homegrown Chinese brands and also European heritage brands, just like Galenic. So when we are managing business with the Chinese speed and also European heritage, making strategic decision is actually becoming a balancing art. So I think when we just launched Galenic 5 years ago, we had a heated discussion within our team, across genders, across cultures, and then we were thinking about, should we prepare for the brand and enhance the brand equity first, then to launch in the market? On the other side, the other group thought about to launch it immediately in the market to capture the e-commerce growth in China market. So by making a decision, it's not choosing one side. I think the most important thing is to really design the integration. So after heated discussion, we hear from different lenses, and then we decided on doing both. So we designed a dual track model, which is to enhance the brand equity. It's not doing a lot of creativity work before launching to the market. So we kind of do it both. So we launch the market, we listen to what the consumers' feedback, and then continually we enhance the brand equity accordingly. And that the result is actually quite good. Now Galenic is becoming a rising luxury brand in the market. So according to this experience, if I summarize in one sentence, I would say diversity is an advantage, strategic advantage that allow us to make right decision, which enable sustainable and more rounded results. And then now if in a room, when we discuss, if everyone agrees too quickly, that's the time that I feel worried. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christy. That's a fascinating example of how diversity can fuel innovation and business success. My next question goes to Valérie, VP and CEO of EDF in China. Let's hear her answer to the following question. Today, many companies claim to be committed to gender equality. In your view, where does the biggest gap still exist between stated intentions and everyday reality?
Thanks for the question. And above all, thanks so much for the invitation to speak about a topic that's dear to my heart. And my strong apologies for not being able to be with you tonight. If I go back to the question, I would say that gender equality gap is a very vast topic that's being thoroughly studied, and I will not pretend to know it all, but I can answer from my experience and my industry. I have the feeling that over the last decades or so, the view on women's leadership has been improved and been evolving. But I think the biggest gap is not so much about commitment and more about control. If I may, maybe I can explain a bit more my view on that. I think we can see lots of organizations strongly committed in showcasing, demonstrating targets, scorecards on gender equality. And that's, of course, very positive. But we all know, and especially in the energy industry, that I would say the career accelerating positions are very strongly linked with position dealing with operational responsibilities and or financial accountabilities. And in those two topics, women are underrepresented. And I would say mechanically, they are also underrepresented in executive succession pools. So my 2 cents, if I may, if we want to still work on closing the gap, would be to proactively position women in those two fields, operational responsibility, financial responsibility, proactively working on very diverse succession pools, and last but not least, have the leaders accountable for the outcome. Gender equality is not something that's purely for communication. It's for me clearly linked with performance. And so if a company, and I would say in the energy sector, it's crucial, if we manage to unlock all the talents we have, it's probably the winning game.
Thank you. Very interesting, Valérie. Very interesting points. You see the focus on operational and financial roles are the real gatekeepers to leadership, game changer. Because actually, if we don't fix this pipeline at this level, we realize that actually the equality at the top will never change and will always be an illusion. So now, Céline, please, I'm turning to Céline in Shanghai. Céline, you are the global product manager for L'Oréal. Today, many companies claim to be committed to gender equality. In your view, where does the biggest gap still exist between stated intention and everyday reality?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Fabien, for the question. So first of all, let me clarify where I am located at L'Oréal, because maybe you're not all familiar about what is ITSM. So just to clarify, I'm from the tech teams, IT teams at L'Oréal. Worldwide, in average at L'Oréal, the leading position, 54% are held by women, and especially in China is 60%. Okay. However, I'm from the tech team, and it's a little bit different. The same for science. So usually tech and science is where we need to empower women and to have more and more women to bring more innovation, especially for beauty company. Middle management is where maybe some women are stuck, especially for the tech and science again. So this is where we need more models, we need leaders, we need support from our key leaders into the company. It's a good time as well to be a woman nowadays because all the doors are open to us because we need more women as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Céline. Thank you, as always, your honest assessments, which reflects both the progress that has been made, but all the work that still lies ahead. Please, now, Christophe, building on what Valérie and Céline just mentioned, what's your view on this, please?
Well, first, I obviously agree with what Céline just said, but I think what I want to add there is that global companies, big multinationals, they live in a paradox. They live in a paradox because today their policies for gender equality is very strong. We heard it from Thales. It's included, it's embedded in the KPIs of the managers, of the leaders. It's even embedded actually the KPIs and results of the board members. So there is a very strong push, and we can see how progressive it is and how much progress we've made. But the paradox is that global companies, they are global, and therefore their policies should be the same whereas they are in France or in other countries. And if you think of it, there are countries that are still backward thinking in terms of gender equality. And we can name them. We can talk about the Middle East countries. We can talk even here near to us, Japan and Korea are very sexist mindset still. It's a fact that needs to be mentioned. And global companies are there, but they have to face the local environment. And because they have partnerships and because they have investors and because they are making deals with governments and local companies, they are sometimes walking on eggs, and it's going to be taking courage to cross those gaps and stand firm by the principles that multinational companies want to develop. So that's where I see sometimes a gap between intention and execution.
Christophe, thank you for highlighting both the progress and cultural nuances that still shape this reality. It's a powerful reminder that change often moves at a different speed. Miriam also mentioned this, the speed across generations and borders. Now, maybe we are going to have the video break, I guess?
Yes. And now a guest from France wanted to share a word with us on this important topic. Mr. Frédéric Sanchez, CEO of HeForShe Group and President of MEDEF International and CCI France International. Through its global network of French chambers and together with Business France, CCI France International supports French companies in their international development.
Je suis heureux de m'adresser à vous en tant que président des chambres de commerce à l'international, mais aussi en tant que président de FIV, présent en Chine depuis plus de 100 ans. Chez FIV, notre ambition est simple et puissante. Faire aimer l'industrie, c'est d'ailleurs notre raison d'être. Depuis 200 ans, nous construisons une industrie plus innovante, plus inclusive, plus durable. Et cette transformation n'est possible que grâce à la diversité de celles et ceux qui font vivre notre entreprise. Nos équipes rassemblent près de 70 nationalités, plus de 500 métiers, et nous voulons que chacun puisse y trouver sa place. L'égalité homme-femme fait bien sûr partie de cette ambition. Nous recrutons et accompagnons des femmes sur tous nos métiers, y compris techniques, et nous les soutenons dans leur développement grâce à des programmes dédiés, comme Women at FIV. Mon rôle est simple en la matière. En tant que dirigeant, il faut que je crée les conditions pour que chacun puisse trouver sa place, puisse progresser et contribuer au développement de l'entreprise et créer. C'est ainsi que nous continuerons à bâtir une industrie qui inspire, qui attire, une industrie dont nous pourrons être fiers. Et donc, en cette journée que vous célébrez aujourd'hui, HeForShe, je vous souhaite une belle journée, un bel événement, et surtout de ne pas oublier ces grands principes. La diversité est un facteur clé de succès et un facteur de croissance équilibrée et saine. Voilà. Bonne journée à toutes et à tous et à très vite. Merci.
Thank you, Frédéric. An inspiring message from Frédéric with emphasis on diversity as a driver of innovation, inclusivity, and sustainable growth. Back to you, Jinqing, with a second question. So the question is, how can we prevent equality policies from being perceived as constraints, and instead, how do we position them clearly as drivers of competitiveness, innovation, and talent attractiveness?
Yeah, indeed, we do believe that diversity is essential for creativity, innovation, and competitiveness. Kering is represent many brands, and creativity is so important for us. And a very inclusive culture means collective wisdom. We hear everyone's voice, we give opportunities, we brainstorm with each other, and this dynamic process really improve creativity. So we are very a strong believer in this I&D practice because it's part of our competitive advantage contributor. And more so, I think also it's a measure, as someone at the EDF mentioned, it's a performance lever or any company. Today's talents, especially young talents, they look for employers who are very respect to their talents and also have opportunities for their growth. And unless you are very dynamic, open, inclusive, and fair company, you cannot keep the talents. Otherwise, you cannot keep the talents. The best talents will find other places where they can unleash their potentials and they can showcase their potentials. So I think this is a very big part of our leadership to really give chances and open more opportunities for equal opportunities for everybody. So we do that on day-to-day basis, and it's been part of a culture and the leadership as well. So to make it practical, we also have training for all these, unbiased behavior, how to really change the behavior to make sure we create a more inclusive environment for everybody. We also believe that it's not just matter to our employees and to our own companies. We need to also use our influence, use the brand power to shine talents in our ecosystem. Like, for instance, a lot of women creative talents, they have been living through a very long history of unequal opportunities. So we realized that, and because of that, we actually created a program called Women in Motion, which is really trying to highlight female creativity and talents from different creative sectors. For instance, we started with Cannes Film Festival to give a special prize called Women in Motion Prize to women filmmakers, both in front of the screen and behind the scene, screenwriters, directors, special talents that contribute to the movie industry. And this was actually started before the Me Too even started. So it's been over 11 years. And every Cannes Film Festival, we not only give the award to a very accomplished female filmmaker like Jane Fonda, like Michelle Yeoh most recently, and also French and other nationalities, leading film makers, but also give a special award to the emerging filmmakers and give some special prizes like a fund for them to create their own project, creative project using the Women in Motion Prize. So this has been going on for 11 years, and we also bring this to China in 2021. We started with the Center Pompidou at the West Bund Museum called Women in Motion Contemporary Choreography Festival. So we highlight the creative force in the dancing and choreography. And explore the women's creativity and their power to express themselves through, their physical as well as creative potential. So that's very, very successful. And then during the last year is the film sector's 130 years of the film history and 120 years for Chinese film history. We started a new partnership with Shanghai International Film Festival to also have a Women in Motion sort of a platform. So now at the Shanghai Film Festival, there is a special unit called Women in Motion Powered by Caring, which highlight female film directors and also female or women narratives, strong female narratives in the films. And we also invited global filmmakers for a dialogue like this during the Shanghai Film Festival. So it's a very, very popular program. And this year we're going to continue doing it in mid-June. And in addition, we most recently will open a new exhibition at the Fotografiska next week, March 13th. Yeah, we highlight this very, very legendary female photographer, street photographer, Vivian Maier. She has a terrific story. She's the most sort of unknown photographer for the 20th century, but she has created more than 150,000 photos through her 40, 50 years during her life in New York and Chicago, but nobody's seen it. So until after she passed away, people realized she created this enormous archive for street everyday life throughout 40s, 50s until basically her passing. This enormous archive, very valuable. So this exhibition, and really highly recommend it to everybody, because I think someone mentioned it before. What we are lacking is like we have such a long history of female in a very unequal environment, but there are such a pioneer of women who created their first diplomat, right? First pilot, and in the fashion industry, there's also a lot of first. For instance, Saint Laurent, created honoring the women who had become more independent women, powerful women, and showcase that very confidently. So I think this is very, very important that we really look at our history and highlight these women who break the barriers, and that can give a lot of influence and encouragement to our younger generation. And we also do a very special nonprofit project under Caring Foundation. This is, again, part of our responsibility, not only take care of our own employees and our ecosystem, but also underprivileged women. So our Caring Foundation is especially focusing on supporting women under domestic violence. And using our influence, we actually do big fundraising activities for a lot of NGOs working in this area. in New York City. I mean, that become a very important caring foundation gala. We invite a lot of our brand ambassadors, and they are more than happy to show up to support women. And so it became a record-breaking fundraising activity and even covered by New York Times in the most recent event. So I think all this just shows, we are all part of a global village. And in order to, for women to thrive, everybody needs to be playing some role in this.
Thank you. Carrying the focus on practical inclusion, many programs, many initiatives like Women in Motion. Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jingjing. Now, I'd like to address now the topic of new generation with you, Christy. Younger generation are redefining expectation around leadership and work-life balance. How is this shift reshaping your evaluation and promotion culture?
With the company, we have more than 1,500 people, and the average age of our employees is around 30. So they're very young. And then also more than 75% of our employees are female. And then my feeling for younger generation's view on leadership nowadays is not about authority, it's more about energy. So if you have the energy to light up yourself, the energy to light up the surroundings, the energy to light up the environment, then you are the leader. So that's my feeling. So as you were also mentioning about the selection criteria for promotion, so we also involved. Now we try to promote those talents who can not only deliver the result, but also can deliver other talents, other people, and also can build up the strategic partnerships with cross-functional teams and also with external partners. And one thing is also very important is continue to evolve with this changing environment, with AI, with all those new topics coming nowadays. So to do or to succeed within all these categories, I think it requires a lot of energy. So now I also see that young generation would love to spend a lot of time at gym. So this is also the way to do the work-life balance. Like back in the days when we talk about young generation want a work-life balance, we have the idea that they want lower pressure but higher position, or less work, more pay, but that's not the truth according to my experience. And now I think they always talk to me about, I need to care about work-life balance. I need to rest more. So I would say it's a reverse leadership. So I think the learning comes both ways.
Thank you, Christy. The way Yatsen Group is responding to the expectation of younger employees is a great example, and how companies can stay ahead of the curve. Let's hear the point now of Valérie. We have the video of Valérie, I guess, on that topic.
It's true that we can see a major shift in the expectation between younger generation and maybe my generation. We've been raised in a model where what matters was total availability, 24/7, long hours, geographical mobility, probably in echo to the traditional model of the family and the shared tasks between the household and the professional life. I don't know when to date the shift. It was probably a continuum, but clearly we can say that the pandemic has dramatically impacted the way we see our job. And if I look at my young colleagues today, what I can see in their expectation is purpose, a great sense of purpose in what they are doing, the content of their job, flexibility, definitely. And maybe something I would call more like human-centric management. So for organization to be able to retain, attract the best talent, we need to reassess our criteria. I'm thinking of maybe a couple of key points that could help this this exercise. Health and safety is paramount now, that's for sure. Agility is a necessity, I would say even a prerequisite in a context where volatility is constant. Unexpected is, I would say, the daily routine. And also a way to be able to build sustainable, high-performing teams, onboarding people, managing them so that they create a collective that can really be highly performing. So it's a very exciting time for companies to create and nurture this kind of workspace. I don't think the young generation is asking for less leadership. I think they're asking for maybe a better leadership. They're leading, I would say they're forcing us to re-challenge our leadership model. And if I may add, I think it's also a great momentum for women to sit at the table in this context.
Thank you. Thank you, Valerie. Your point about younger generations craving better leadership and not less is spot on. Now I would like to turn to Christophe in Shanghai. Christophe, would you like to answer the previous question? What structural or systemic mechanisms still persist at the top of organizations despite the individual goodwill of leaders?
Okay, so I think we heard it from Miriam earlier. If you ask to the people who do you think would be a good leader, you still have a wide majority saying that gentleman would. So I think there is still cultural bias. I was talking earlier about how it's difficult in certain culture because of the culture, because of the religion, but also at home there is also the generational gap, and maybe some men from a certain generation have more problem to accept gender equality. So this is still remaining. Obviously, it's getting much, much better. I think mindsets are opening and spirits are changing. For many years also, I think the mistakes that many companies were doing is that they were pushing for parity without making sure that women had a comfortable place to live and strive in the companies. So they were taking the problem upside down. They were just saying, we need parity, we need 50% of women, but they were not making sure that the work environment, that the flexibility that is needed for women to strive and to evolve and to go through the Jacob's ladder was in place. And of course, this is also improving, but I think it still is today remaining at some level in some enterprises.
Thank you, Christophe, your point. Your distinction about between quotas and creating a place where women can really thrive is so important. It's not just about filling seats at the table, but it's also ensuring and especially ensuring that everyone at the table has an equal voice. It raises my new question to you, Hara, in Shanghai. In 2026, being an ally is no longer enough. What concrete responsibilities must men take on to accelerate structural transformation?
Okay, thank you. First, I would like to expand this responsibility also to women, because I think that change needs a global effort, not only from men. And I choose today one topic that I think is still underestimated is transgenerational gender norms. So gender norms, in fact, are expectations. They are not choices, but most obligations, social obligations that sometimes they are not really visible, but they always draw some enough energy. So I will give an example. So still today, even if it's really changing, we have professional and social settings, environments where women are still expected to follow appearance standards. For example, hairstyle or covering gray hair or wearing makeup or using skirts or heels, or maintaining a very specific body shape, okay? And there is nothing wrong or right about these standards. The issue is when these standards, they are obligations instead of choices. That's the real issue. Why? Because in fact, to maintain these standards, women, they need to spend a lot of resources in terms of physical and mental energy, in terms of money and time. And we have to acknowledge that there are some women that they don't want to spend these resources in these matters, but they would like to spend, in, I don't know, leisure, resting, learning, and other things. So I think we all, women and men, we need, in fact, to create more gender-neutral environments. How? Maybe by questioning dress codes, by speaking up when there are comments about appearance. And there is one, I will speak about that later, that I think is really important. We finally need to normalize all body shape, that's for sure.
Thank you very much, Ara, on this comment, which obviously is linked to stereotype and how we have to move across those stereotypes. In Guangzhou, Stephen, I'm turning to you. Same question. In 2026, being an ally is no longer enough. What are the concrete responsibilities that men must take to accelerate structural transformation?
Thank you, Christopher. So when I got this question here, I look over it and I saw man, ally, not enough. So, but, I wanted to thank, Howard in Shanghai by extending that concrete responsibility across gender, which is really important. I'm not entirely convincing that being an ally guarantees action. It's pretty much is basically what Mark Carney said. Obviously, different context. I think, the problem here is not allyship, it's ownership. And there are many, many ways to convert those or translate those into corporate governance. I'm not going to talk about anything specific, but I heard some great ideas today, across different speakers. People mentioned about KPIs, obviously KPDs, you can have change management, you can lead, initiatives. But I wanted to take this as a man, because, we have to answer the question here, to somewhere a little bit more upstream. I think, because I mentioned about the unintentional institutional biases. It's so starting from the recognizing the problem. So what I think, explicit recognition is really, really important. But again, for those men and women in position of power, I know it's really, really difficult to put yourself in that position. You can be really vulnerable because all of a sudden you might become the cause of the problem. You could be, but you're definitely part of the solution here. And so I think the most concrete one can do, for one, is by recognizing your own insufficiencies here. And as a man, we have a long history of bigotry, ignorance, hubris. So I think we must act. And not to mention, I think for those non-French companies, we've learned, liberté from France. It's about time, we learn equality from you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for this message on accountability from men. All right, turning to you, Ezra, and my question is this: How has CMA CGM China turned global initiatives like She Sells, you talked about it, She Sells and women empowerment into real measurable progress locally? And what achievements has CMA CGM China made in this area?
Thank you very much, Christophe. I would say I'm actually quite lucky because I arrived China 7 months ago, 7 or 8 months ago, and the women ratio in the organization is amazing. We have 59% of our employees, we have 1,300 employees in China, are women. And moreover, and I think that's even more impressive, if you look into the managers, it's 50-50. So it's 50% managers, 50% managers, 50% women, 50% men. And then if you look into C-suite, we have 5 women, 5 men. So it's a very nice ratio in China, and I think I'm lucky, but there's also a cultural element into this one. I think in China, when you compare to the many other countries, that the equality, the women and men, it's very different. I think I don't want to say it's less of a concern, but it's not a big issue when you compare to many other countries. And CMA-CGM specifically in China, we have been working for a very long time globally. I think that's part of the footprint in China as well. The Women Empowerment Program that has a lot of focus on coaching and mentoring. And as I mentioned earlier as well, the training program. So you need to send 50% of your talents has to be women, and 50% of your trainers has to be women. And this comes from China, this comes from US, this comes from Europe. So all the countries has to follow these specific criteria. And I think it's very, very powerful. Even when we have top management visits, a very small anecdote, when we have a casual meeting or dinner or drinks all together, we are always very conscious that we try to keep that 50-50. It's very, very important because I really believe if this doesn't come from the top, it will never go all the way. So I think we as leaders, we really need to do the walk the talk. And I think, as I mentioned, in China, the ratios are really quite favorable. So I'm very, very lucky and happy to work in an environment as diverse as such. And I think it's reflected in our performance, which is because China has been consistently one of the best performing countries in CMA-CGM. And where we can develop, and we have been focusing, is the she sales, as you mentioned, the women on the sea. And this is where we have now, I think, around more than 700 senior Chinese crew. And we have only 40 joined this year as women. And this is an area I think we can do more and more. We are running partnerships right now in universities. We signed an MOU with both Dalian and Shanghai Maritime University. And we are working on crewing more and more in China. And clearly, women empowerment and women on sea is one of the top criteria. It goes back again to KPIs. It goes back again in the talk. It goes back again living as practice. You know, we don't just talk about it once a year. That's not the case. I think it's really important that you mentioned it at the very beginning. We are no longer talking about the awareness. I think we are talking about the impact. And the impact is something that we can only force. And that really puts a lot of responsibility on our shoulders as leaders, and especially women leaders, I think. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ezra. You really show us what could be done when global commitments are backed by local action. Je me tourne de nouveau vers vous, Myriam, ici à Pékin. En tant que diplomate occupant de hautes responsabilités, quels choix de leadership ont été déterminants dans votre parcours et quels obstacles systémiques continuent selon vous de freiner l'accès au plus haut niveau de responsabilité au sein des institutions internationales?
The obstacles for women to enter into the top institutions internationally. Well, I'm not sure whether I'm a top diplomat, but thank you for being a senior leader. Actually, every one of us trying our best to improve in our career. There are 3 points to make: adventurous and also level of diligence. And lastly, to take risk opportunities and have some observations from my point of view. I haven't set any limits for myself. For example, upon my first visit to China, it was 20 years ago. I was a college student. I went to China now, 20 years later. I went to China again. And sitting among you about all these topics, that means you need to remove limits for yourself. Not all our ventures are successful. Some of them end up in failures. But what's most important to me nonetheless, regional aspirations and goals, at least for me. My aspiration is to become a diplomat. Therefore, regardless of all the detours I have to take, my goal had always been to become a diplomat. And as a leader, regardless of what kind of leadership you want to become, you need to remember who are you working on behalf of. And being a diplomat is quite different from other job positions. You need to serve your national interest and your people. And at the same time, we need to fight for the international public benefits. For example, I mentioned all the ambassadors and also other diplomats. But regardless of what kind of what level of diplomacy you are, you need to, on behalf of your institution, at the same time, also a link, a very long chain. Sometimes we need to reduce our sense of presence because you don't have to represent the success in person as long as you can successfully lead your team to complete. Do your best to make concrete efforts. That's an important thing to do. And speaking of which, it reminds me of some of my coworkers. At the same time, considering the current political situation, some of our colleagues are working in very dangerous and very harsh conditions. They are leading their tasks in such environments by being respect to them. And in a diplomatic environment, if everyone is an ambassador or a leader without any subordinates or colleagues, it's going to be meaningless in such an organization. Therefore, all the grassroots level workers should be identified and respected and recognized. Sometimes not everyone can make a right decision every time. So we need to work complementary to each other when we are working as a leader. The third thing is that we need to know to learn from others and to have keen observations. And we need to learn from other people's successful experiences. Sometimes we need to take a step back so as to travel far into the journey and to look back on what you have and being a leader. Position itself is meaningless. What's most important is to be the mission. And you need to showcase your powerful attitude and to lead people. And you need to think outside of the box and also step out of your comfort zone. As a woman, when you hear promotion suggestions, you should not be just thinking about your challenges in your future or difficulties. You need to think yourself whether I'm willing to take this adventure and this tryout. And especially working as a diplomat when you're overseas, it's not a loneliness. They're working in silos, so your colleagues and partners are especially important to you.
We do need the support from our friends and companions because we devote 100% of our lives and time to diplomacy. So we do need significant support from others. Therefore, we're faced with two barriers. One is institutional or mechanism-wise barrier. For example, some positions are not suitable for females or stop them from being promoted. And second is the barrier we set for ourselves. For example, when we are young, we might think that this new position or new responsibility is very tough, so that I am not able to nail it, or what if I'm going to have babies? I don't think we should set any limits to our career development. Or without even try, we should not put too much stress on ourselves.
quand on est heureux et heureuse de le
There's
faire.
no single position that is not suitable to you at a certain age. If we believe one job can bring you happiness, then it's worth trying. At the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have tried our best to break through this institutional and individual barriers. We call it the Trampoline Initiative. Through a series of initiatives, we encourage more employees to take on a higher responsibility and positions. Therefore, we need female or male leaders. We should care more about our subordinates, our reports, and provide them with more promotion ladders or opportunities. As a leader, we should encourage women who hide behind the scene to make their voice heard, to make themselves more exposed. The style of leadership is quite important. In recent years, we do see a change in leadership style. When we discuss leaders, we talked about their style that needs to make the workplace more friendly so that talent could make full play to their potential. Thank you, Mariam, for your clear explanation about the hidden barriers, and also you relate to your own experience. We believe that you are a woman of determination, ambition. As long as we are determined and also we have supporters, we can break these barriers.
Let's start with you, Yvonne, in Shanghai. Can artificial intelligence and automated decision systems mitigate or amplify existing biases? What governance responsibilities do leaders carry to ensure these technologies become accelerators of equity rather than reproducing inequality?
Thank you for the question. I think today AI applied everywhere in life, especially in China. We have a lot of developed AI tools that you may use everywhere. So I would like to share a few reflections that I think about this question in Chinese. Sorry.
AI itself cannot mitigate bias or prejudices. It might promote fairness or equality. It might also amplify biases. With a certain situation, for example, if the historical data is not equal or is unfair, then AI will exacerbate that. When the algorithm is not transparent, because we don't know the algorithm behind the AI technology sometimes, that might also exacerbate the inequality. And also when we apply AI, whether there is a monitoring system in place, that will also cause AI intensifying the biases. Therefore, intentional design of AI can avoid the bias brought by it. For example, it can identify or spot some bias language or behaviors. For example, in the KPI assessment, it can set fair rules. Then this AI tool can show more equality. And in this process, managers' responsibility is quite important. We should look at it from the following aspects. For a single bank, in either our corporate business, we use AI very extensively, but we are still learning and exploring the use of AI. I'd like to share with you some points, our reflections, AI application. As leaders, we need to establish the talent pipeline without biases because AI brings a lot of data input. Which might not have any particular propensity. So at this time, our managers need to monitor or supervise the AI output, especially in terms of gender equality, salary parity, effective evaluations. So we need to create a bias-free talent pipeline. Secondly, we need to establish ethical guardrails. When we use AI, we need to set clear principles or mechanisms for transparency and resource, so that when our employees discover some issues or some inequality, they can speak up. There can be a mechanism for complaints for employees' voices. Thirdly, we need to ensure human participation because AI can assist decision-making, but they could not replace human beings to make the decision, especially in recruitment, promotion, as well as KPI evaluation. It provides some data, but it cannot replace human beings to make judgment and conclusion. Finally, when we apply AI, we should embed our values in the AI system. For example, at Saint-Gobain, we promote fair and inclusive recruitment and also salary parity. We need to embed our corporate value in the AI system so that the output it generates will fit our direction and value. To wrap up, AI itself does not fix biases, but leaders do. By governing the use of AI, create some transparent, equal, and fair rules so that AI could be a very important assistant.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you. Your focus on governance and ethical oversight is crucial, especially as AI becomes more integrated in our workplaces. And you, Jean-Marc, please. Jean-Marc, do you see things differently? Can AI and automated decision systems mitigate or amplify existing biases? What governance responsibilities do leaders carry to ensure these technologies become accelerators or equity rather than reproducing inequality?
Many relevant topics have been addressed by Yvonne, and we can feel the maturity we are reaching on those topics. So I will try to share with you where we stand on this journey. Talking about journey, we're going to go first to Hong Kong, and we're going to talk about Go Games. After, we will come back to Beijing and talk about where we stand in Thales. I want to refer to a study in 2022 by University of Hong Kong talking about Go Games. The first, I want to share a simple question. Do you play Go games? This is one of the best statistical predictor for the gender in the region. Simple question gives you the best statistical predictor you can have with this question. So here we can simply see the potential of AI to reproduce bias, but to spot biases. Now let's take two groups of students and let's train one of them with AI system and one of them with teachers. 5 months after, the group supervised by AI will have progressed faster, will go further, and there is no gender gap in this group. Whereas the group supervised by teachers shows a substantial gender gap in terms of skills achieved. So here we see the whole question about it. AI is a really powerful mirror when it comes to spotting, identifying biases. AI is a powerful tool to address those biases, and unsupervised, without the human intervention, it can lead to both effects. Now let's come back to Beijing today. We have a biometric study. Think about boarding, airplane boarding, border control systems, etc. Biometric, where we are managing AI supercharged project. Okay, we go faster, we go deeper on those systems. And I want to share some quotes that one of our female engineers shared today in the company. We had our International Women's Day in the company. And just I want to share her conclusion on that, on some of those projects. She concludes that female engineers today demonstrate communication skills, attention to detail, and sensitivity to implicit needs from the customer. And these are exactly the quality required to supervise those AI tools. So when it comes to achieving or really meeting the full potential of an engineering team, we see that here we are addressing the gender gap. Okay, so that's it. That's where we stand today. Really, AI is a powerful tool, well managed. AI is a wonderful mirror to address, to identify, to spot and address those biases in the workplace.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean-Marc. What you share about AI eliminating performance gaps among Go players is quite fascinating. It shows how technology, when designed properly, thoughtfully, can level the playing field. Céline, please, Céline, where are you? Céline, what?
Yes.
Great. Do you agree or do you have a different point of view?
Yes, so let me add 3 points, Fabien. So first of all, I will answer like yes, it's amplify bias. And let me share with you how L'Oréal, how the tech team and the business team are tackling it. So I have 4 points to share with you. So the first one is about we have a data governance team. So there's team that makes sure that we source data from different quality of data, I don't know, we have a very diversity of clients, so we need to make sure that the data is as well as diverse as our clients, customers, because it's a business for us. So we need the good data to address the good L'Oréal business later on. So this is about the L'Oréal, I would say, team by themselves. But the second point is L'Oréal alone is not enough. So we are partnering with key technology actors to build the standard, to try to build the standards all together about what is responsible AI. So we have dialogue partners with technology like Microsoft, Alibaba, Google, and so on, to all together build their standards that is very critical for the world of today and tomorrow. A last action that we are leading at L'Oréal today about it is about training. We need our L'Oréal employee train from beauty advisor to people working in plants, that CEO, middle management, everybody to be trained on AI. Because we want to avoid AI literacy, to be able to have good knowledge, good empowerment for our employee, and good awareness. And I will say the last point to share is about when we invest in a technology, we have a grid, and within this grid, we address topic about AI responsibility with those technologies that we are about to invest. And it's about asking how many women, how many men, what is your percentage, what is your journey? Because it's a collective effort that we need to be we need to federate people to build and to have this responsibility for AI and the world of tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Céline. Thank you very much. It's a wonderful and a fantastic example to see how technology can be a force for good, and to see how it can help us to discover blind spot that we didn't even know we had, right? Thank you very much.
And Yes, and now another guest from France would like to share a few words with us on this inspiring topic. Mr. Olivier Rousseau, Global CEO of SGD Pharma. SGD Pharma is a French leader in pharmaceutical glass and pioneer in ESG. He reminds us that sustainability also means advancing gender equality.
At SGD Pharma, ESG influences and shape both our industrial and our commercial strategy, and not the other way around. For environment, SGD Pharma is delivering on its commitment to be the leader in decarbonization in the glass industry. Our ambitious decarbonization plan will allow us to reduce our Scope 1 and 2 by 42% in 2030 versus 2022. And this leading plan has been validated by SBTi, and it's consistent with the most aggressive ambition, the 1.5 degree Celsius trajectory. SGD has been rewarded for a second time in a row with a platinum medal by EcoVadis with a score of 90 out of 100, the highest company score in our industry. G, for governance, we strive on being benchmark on governance everywhere we do business. And S, for social, we focus on safety and health for our employees as well as on gender equality. In China, for example, we give equality of chance for women and men, equality of opportunity and equality of salary for equivalent job. The majority of our leadership team in China are ladies. The leaders in charge of operations, commercial, as well as HR teams are women. And we track our level of gender equality using international scoring system from 0 to 100, 100 being the best. And in China, our score is 98 for 2025 and will continue progressing. As the global CEO of SGD Pharma, I sponsor and orient our organization in each of the countries where we operate to move towards equality at fast pace. And I encourage all companies to do the same and to commit and deliver on gender equality. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for sharing your vision and your experiences. Before the last question, I would like to share a thought, one thought. As a woman of my generation, I truly hope that the progress we are discussing today will continue to translate into real change in our organization, in our societies, and in the opportunities offered for the next generations. Because equality is not only about policies or intentions, it is about the choice we make every day, the doors we open, and the voices we choose to listen to. So for this final question, I would like to ask each of you, what is a change we know is necessary, but are still hesitant to implement?
And we start with you, Jinji.
I think HeForShe is a great starting point. The allyship for communication is here. I hope that we're building this community to be an allyship for action. And it starts from it starts from everybody every day, basically. I think that's what it takes to change happen.
Thank you, Jinqing. Now, please, Christy.
Thank you, Fabian. Yeah, since we just celebrate New Year of 2026 and the New Year of Horse, I would like to tie this question with New Year resolution. So a lot of people make a to-do list or a New Year resolution plan year, and then at the end of the year, those items are remain to do. So I think hesitation is the biggest barrier for us to achieve something, to attain the desired life we want. So just share a small story about myself. I practiced piano for years when I was young, but I stopped when the academic pressure become intense in middle school. So I wanted to pick it up at some point, at some day, but someday never happened. And then years ago, my daughter started to learn piano. I wanted to create a musical atmosphere at home. So I practiced with her together. And then to my surprise, adult can learn very fast. So just within a month, I reached my previous level, and then I went beyond it. So really to my surprise. And when I was young, I dreamed of play a piece, which is Mozart's Alan Turcar. And then now I can play it in the way I imagine. So I think I would like to share this surprise to all of you. I think hesitation holds us back from making the change we want. Most of the people know about what are the changes that we need to do, but maybe people are afraid of being judged, being wrong, or stepping out of the comfort zone. So I think the most important thing is just to take action. And then very often, the distance between one and the wish is just one step forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now we turn to Hara for the question.
Okay, so regarding the profession that I have, I think there is one urgent topic that we have to address is to finally normalize all body shapes. That's really important. And to also disconnect the concept of beauty from the concept of health and well-being. So today we are constantly exposed to very narrow beauty standards, okay? And the issue is not only that these standards are narrow, but it's also the fact that these standards are very often associated with concept of health, happiness, well-being, and success. So here there is a big risk because when we normalize the association between health or happiness or success with a specific body shape, can create, in fact, a lot of pressure for women, okay? And that comes at really high cost in terms of mental and health well-being, and also in terms of time and money. So I would say that scientifically, there is no a link between health and wellness and a specific body shape. So health and wellness are very complex and multifactorial concepts. So yes, I think that normalizing all body shape and trying to disconnect, in fact, aesthetics from health and well-being is something that this is really urgent to do.
Myriam, selon vous, à Pékin, quel est le changement que nous savons nécessaire mais que nous hésitons encore à mettre en œuvre?
Moi, je dirais que c'est la poursuite de l'évolution des mentalités et des préjugés.
What is
Et
the
moi, je
thing that we need to change, but we haven't changed? We need to change people's mentality and the stereotypes. Both men and women should have the opportunities. And based on actual achievements, there should be fair and just evaluations so that all the evaluation systems would be a fair and just standard.
Sorry, did I pronounce?
Okay. Yes, so for me, it will be about positive discrimination for women. I was recently discussing with HRD about that. He's wondering about that for the tech at L'Oréal, because we can see that it's not coming naturally. So we need maybe some enhancing, especially for maybe the public powers as well. And I really want to thank that there is some law to as well protect more women. For example, for the political life, hopefully there is the gender equality statement, because it's not so obvious that, and there's still a debate in the community, even for the French, about the gender equality. There is another law upcoming is about to make sure we have 30% of women for the board of directors, the loi Rixin. So yes, for me, the answer is a positive discrimination with the support of the public power. Thank you.
What about you, Jean?
So I will talk from a technology perspective. Today, we are entering a world where technology is evolving and the science, technology, and engineering education system produces worldwide 35% of female, 32% in France, a bit more in China. So it is urgent as individuals or as organizations to launch initiatives to stimulate experiments in education, in lifelong learning, to have an impact on this. If we correct even by a few percentage points these statistics, it would correct something which is an absolutely shocking gap in terms of achieving the career goal of scientific women and achieving the full potential of the society.
Thank you.
Thank you. We turn to Yvonne. Yvonne.
Right. 我相信很多的企业
I believe many managers at many different companies, they have the intentions to drive transformation and to promote female development in society developments. But building a system takes courage, especially the persistence and moving forward along with change of times. I think there are 3 points I'd like to share with you. I'm also expecting that we're going to join hands in this journey forward. First of all, we need to support and also reshape our corporate systems. Many managers would like to hold forums, events, supporting female activities, and also support female growth. But if we can change our corporate systems, especially the screening systems, recruitment systems, evaluation systems, and taking those systems into our corporate governance, I believe it's going to be a more powerful change to the status quo. And secondly, in terms of increasing women's number and reshaping the distribution system, because increasing female number, that's going to be easier than reshaping the power of distribution, because for those who can be promoted to the decision-making positions, it means we are going to have a more fair opportunity for women. We expect that we should move forward, not just to have more women in our management team. What's more important is that we need to reshape our right of decision-making and the power to distribution. We need to have more voices of women. Lastly, I expect every manager, their commitment should be evaluated. There should be measures to have such evaluations. For example, at Saint-Gobain, we have established a female support KPIs for our senior managers. It is included into the KPI evaluation system of our senior managers. I think we can move a step further. For those who fail to reach these KPIs, there should be accountability. And moreover, we can take these actions and to embed them into our management daily routines and also to follow up.
All these are effective measures that we can make a change in our daily work so that we can transform the current situation. Therefore, the step forward today is already quite outstanding. I have seen companies such as L'Oreal to achieve 50, 60, and even 70% of the female population, and I hope that more companies can have a female representation in the decision making. This is a corporate social responsibility.
I'm going to turn to you now, Esra, for the same question.
Thank you very much, Christophe. I think the International Women's Day and the history of all the women's rights movement reminds that the equality only advances if we push. And we need to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And one thing I believe is the equality at all levels of the organization, especially on the board levels for the international companies. I believe this is an area that we need to keep pushing constantly.
I think we're moving to Beijing.
Okay, in Beijing, we will hear about Valerie's view on this question.
I don't know if we are hesitant, but I feel the world is getting more and more complex, more and more unpredictable. Every day brings another news that we were not expecting with a greater impact on our daily life. So if I look at the positive way, I would say it also unlocks new opportunities to think of how to work together and fill that famous gap of gender inequality. So if I may, I can share with you my personal agenda. I'm thinking of three, I would say, priorities that I have. As a woman in a leadership position, the first one is to lead by the example, and always be consistent, even though sometimes it's difficult between what we say and what we do, and always strive to have an impact. The second one would be always put inclusion on the agenda proactively. Inclusion shouldn't be a side effect of the agenda. It should be the engine for transformation. And the third one is being bold. As a manager or as an employee, accept or take or trigger positions out of the comfort zone is something that I believe is a momentum for women. Having this strategy to find a niche where we can really explore and implement all our capacities in this world, as I said, which is so complex, I think is probably a great momentum for us. So I think the sky is the limit.
And I turn to our moderators of tonight, whom you can applaud for this dynamic session. And I ask them the same question. Christine.
Thank you, Caroline. I would say very quickly, I would say rethinking the traditional model of success. I would like to apply it to my industry, which is a law firm industry, but actually it can apply to a lot of industries. You know, law firms traditionally, they have built on long hours, intense pressure, and very often quite a rigid career path. And that model has created barriers, obviously, because particularly, for example, for women, but also for men, other talented lawyers who want to pursue a demanding career as well as a sustainable way personal life. So the challenge today is not to lower standards, but to redesign the way we work so that excellence and sustainability can coexist. And because ultimately for law firms, of course, but also for other industries, a profession that cannot retain its best talents will have difficulties to serve its clients on the long term. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. What about you, Fabien, in Guangzhou?
We have many very different, interesting things tonight. I will try to wrap different things being brief. First, telling us it's a global commitment. Also, Jingxing telling us we are all responsible. And also Jean-Marc also telling us that we have to develop a culture of trust. And also, I found very interesting what Céline said, that actually technology can be necessary and can also develop new opportunities. And Miriam saying that anyway, we have to act to find and to develop proactive measures. And as a conclusion, I would mention what Christy said, two different things. We have to take care of our younger generation concerning mental consciousness and mental awareness and mental wellness, and also about to stop to hesitate, to try to leave our comfort zone. And it's time for action. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fabien. Thank you, Fabien. And what about you, my dear President, Christophe?
Okay, a lot has been said. Just back to my point earlier, I think we need to continue to create flexibility in the workplace. Myself come from the hotel industry, and it's a very difficult environment, obviously, for women working in restaurants, working day and nights and shifts, and how to balance personal life, how to have the equal opportunities to grow is still something where we need to progress. A lot has been done, but improving flexibility at work for women needs to be done in my sector and in many sectors, I think. And I think, dear Caroline, that it is time to close this session. So first, I would like everyone really to give a big round of applause to our panelists. They were incredible. Our panelists in Shanghai, our panelists in Beijing, our panelists in Guangzhou. We've heard so many insightful things from all of you. Thank you so much. That was really a great session, and we heard so many good things. A big round of applause to the team of the French Chamber of Commerce in the 3 chapters. Of course, we need to give a round of applause again to my co-moderators, so Christine, Fabien, and let's not forget to give a big round of applause to our manager, GM, Caroline. Congratulations. And Madame Liu, who gave us a speech at the beginning. And you will give one more round of applause because tonight, online, we were followed by 370,000 people. So congrats, we've beaten new records again today. Thank you all for guiding these dynamic exchanges. We've heard it, a lot of progress has been made and a lot of progress needs to be made, so we are not there yet. We will reconvene next year, of course, for the same event and to assess mostly our advancements in that very important subject. If you are with us physically in the 3 chapters, there is a cocktail, so please feel free to continue the conversation with our panelists. And because the French Chamber of Commerce is a female-led enterprise and institution, I would be in trouble if I don't mention that you have to remember that the next Shanghai Gala is on May 29. If I don't mention this, Caroline would be very upset with me. But that Shanghai Gala, she does it super well, so make sure that you're there. So thank you, everyone, for your participation. It's been a pleasure and privilege. Thank you so much, and see you at the cocktail. Have a nice evening, everyone.
Let's go. Okay, look at me here. Okay, good. Oh, thank you.